Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're talking about better bleaches, better lightning, faster color, no more damage, minimize your damage, get good, everything in between, right?
I've been trying for
What's going on,
35.
Jeff?
I've been trying for 35 years to get good. Let me know, when does that happen?
Get good.
Get good. Get good.
That's how it goes. We're going to be referencing the brand All Nutrient a lot. All Nutrient is a hair color brand. It's certified organic based with vegan components. All right. There's a lot of brands out there that is trying to do color healthier these days. A lot of clients care about healthier these days. And a lot of stylists are actively reaching out to us at HGB Beauty, asking us every week, what is going on? What are the options? What is this? What is that? I need help. Okay. More than ever, clients are more concerned about the health of their scalp and of their hair. And it's funny because in the late 90s, early 2000s, when double processing, meaning you would bleach your entire head with basic white bleach. No, it wasn't even lightener. It was bleach. Basic white. You'd put bleach all over your head, full application. You'd hand somebody a stir. You'd say, go to town on your head. Good luck. See you in 20, 30, 40 minutes, whenever you turn like a freaking big bird. You're looking like a canary. And then you take them back to the shampoo bowl. Their scalp would be raw. Whatever hair didn't break off, you'd tone it with one end, which is black. You do the sign of the cross, you throw that on there, you leave it on for 5-10 seconds. They'd be pure white. And that was platinum blonde, right? And then we would spend the next 6 weeks deep conditioning.
But it wasn't breakage, Eddie. We used to call it chemical texturizing.
It was a volume. It's volume.
Look, the days of it, I still remember the first double process I ever did, and I was sweating. I mean, literally. This woman is sitting there, and I'm watching all this lightener on her head. And I remember it was at the beginning of oil bleaches. And so we figured it wasn't going to be as that damaging, right? And I'm watching this, and I'm getting paranoid, right? And then all of a sudden, I start seeing these little red dots in the lightener.
It's the freaking worst.
Okay. And she's sitting there just reading a magazine, she was so used to the pain, and yeah, and then we took it off, and it was level 10. It looked like pretty much the inside of a lemon. And then what we would do is we went back and we would mix up the high ammonia toner with 20 volume, put it all over their head, put it at the root. And I still remember because I goofed up and I went real heavy, because that's back when we were all bottle babies and we were using a bottle for everything, right? So you're mushing it with your thumb. And all of a sudden she ended up with this purple band in her hair as I'm watching this. And I'm like, oh! And then we tried to pull it through to maximize it, to equalize it. And she looked like a Smurf. And the hair was just devastated. It was, we've come a long way with lightning, and I have 2 double processes that I still do. They're still double process blondes.
And there's so many ways to do it. So, and this is what we're going to cover, all the different ways to go over it. It's so much easier nowadays to do it than it used to be. There is the preparation stuff that you can do, which I know is your favorite thing to talk about. There is the additives that you can do during the formulation when you're mixing your color. And then there is the after steps that you can do. So we'll break it down into 3 categories. And then we'll just start in a row. We'll start with prep. We'll start with the formulating, and then we'll end it with, the aftercare stuff, right?
Right. Well, I mean, let's get right into it then. Let's get right into the prep, because back in the day when you and I were coming up, the dirtier the hair, the better, because you knew all that oil and stuff was protecting the scalp. But because things are far more buffered today, than they were back then. We actually, most color companies are going to, and you're going to see it coming, is you have to prepare the hair for lightening and for coloring.
So what you're mentioning there, a lot of products nowadays are more buffered than what they used to be. So what you need to understand is that myth wasn't always a myth of, oh, the hair needs to be dirty. You know, the dirtier the hair, the better the color will take. It's not that the dirtier the hair, the better the color took. It was the dirtier the hair, the less painful the service was, is really what that was. And to this day, there are clients that still think and believe and say, oh, I haven't washed my, I know I was getting my hair colored, this week, this day, this whatever. I haven't washed, my hair is 3 days old, 4 days old, a week old, whatever it is. There are still clients that actively believe that and say that, all right? The ammonia content in color and the chemical content in color 20 years ago, actually 30 years ago now we're talking. And I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, 30 years ago now, it has changed a lot. It has changed significantly. With that said, with the buffering nowadays, the ammonia content is more stable. It's not all over the place from brand to brand.
Right.
The chemical base of a lot of the color, a lot of like all nutrient, like we're talking about, uses a cream vegetable base. They don't even use a petroleum base. They're not even using a chemical base. Right. So those are more healthier. They're more calmer. And just with the diets of people in general, not everybody is smoking as much as they used to. Not everybody's eating red meat as much as they used to. So the pH balance of everybody, our bodies are not as resistant as they used to be either, because we don't have as much chemicals. Now we're taking a lot more vitamins. We're taking a lot more supplements. So there's a lot more of those better vitamins that color wants to attach itself to.
Right. Right.
This is what you're saying when you're referencing buffers. That's
right.
Important to point out.
Right. It is important. But you're to go back to where we started, and you're 100% correct with that. But then I also have to put a caveat into your statement of, we're also dealing with things now that we weren't dealing with back 30, 35 years ago. The GLP-1s and all these people who are taking massive amounts of supplements. And I mean, you can go down the list, because people are striving to be more healthy. They're intaking things that could possibly affect their hair, because everything you take into your body comes out, well, in your hair. I don't have any. It come out in their hair. And like those of us that have clients that I'll use what are they? GPL1s? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Or
GLP or GPL?
GLP. That's it. I'm sorry, guys. The shots and things like that. And now there's a pill form coming out for those too. Then what they're doing is they're not taking in enough essential fatty acids and nutrients and things like that. And that immediately they start shedding. And then, that's another subject. And that's actually a subject for another day. But the point is that we're also dealing with other things now, and we have to take that into account. And also knowing that the color itself is buffered for the client's comfort, and also not as many chemicals, which is good for us. Well, for young people, me, I've been sniffing ammonia for 35 years. I couldn't smell, I can't smell anymore. That's okay. But point being is that you have to prepare the hair now. You've got to prep the hair. And also because, and you and I have covered this a couple times, our clients only use the professional products that we tell them to use, not what their girlfriends tell them, that has like 50% silicone in it that they blow dried and flat ironed into their hair, right?
You love that. That is your favorite, man. I tell you.
So
then what is prepping? What does prepping look like?
Prepping. If we're using,
what does that look like?
If we're using all nutrient, for an example, okay. All Nutrient really wants you to clarify the hair before service. You give them a nice shampoo with their clarphx shampoo. It's a slightly chelating shampoo, gets rid of anything that's you start with a nice clean canvas. Now, if you are lightening or if you're doing a global application or single process, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't mean you give them a deep tissue scalp massage. That means you cleanse the hair. That does not mean get your fingers in there and really increase that blood flow to the scalp. What it is it's prepping the hair. You're starting with a nice clean canvas. There are other preparations that you could use. They have, well, we'll get into that. That's next. But that's really the nuts and bolts of it. And then also, while you're doing that, that gives you a chance to assess the hair as you're shampooing it and going through the hair of what your during and post color additive / treatments could be, right?
Yeah, I'm dealing with something. Take over for a minute.
Take over. I'm driving now. I think that and I've beat this to death with a lot of the young stylists when we do classes and things, is I don't care personally if it's someone that I've been doing for 30 years or 30 or a brand new client. I still take the time each and every time to talk to them and not talk to them about, hey, how are the kids or what hair needs, and really doing a consultation with them. You don't have to do the full blown consultation, but consult with them. What's going on with their hair? Take a look. Actually get your fingers in the hair and take a look and see. Look at the scalp. Look at the condition of the hair, and that'll tell you if they've been following the regimen you've given them too, or if they've gone on a side quest with their hair products.
All right, I'm back now. Eliminating the free radicals, clarifying the hair, removing all the buildup, balancing out the pH. The other thing, what happens is when we're talking about this, there's a lot of stylists that complain and say, you know what, I don't have time to do that. I don't have, shampoo help. I don't work in a big space, whatever the situation or the scenario is. What we're suggesting is not to waste a lot of time. You're not going to be sitting there doing the massage and the manipulations. So you shampoo their hair, you cleanse it, you clarify it. You're not doing conditioner afterwards, and you're just doing one or two. You're just doing a couple of quick scrubs. You're just breaking it up. That's all you're having to do. Wrap a towel around their head, bring them back to the chair. Don't sit there and waste time blow drying and styling and doing all these things. Okay, just towel dry them so they're not dripping wet. Wrap the towel around their neck, run back there, go mix it color, come back, towel dry them again, because in the couple of minutes that you go and come back, gravity is going to start pulling that water back down. They're going to start dripping all over the place again. Yeah. So you just towel dry them again real quick on the ends so they're not dripping all over the place. But the new growth area where you're going to be first applying color to is going to be clean enough, and it's going to be fine. Another thing that happens is when you're applying on clean, damp, towel dried hair, clarified, the pH is balanced out, your color is going to spread so much more evenly. And then it's going to happen. This magic is going to happen where as the moisture is starting to evaporate, it's going to draw the color in deeper and more evenly and more consistently across the hair shaft as well too. So all the way around, you're fine. Totally, totally fine. So that's clarifying. It's super easy. Now, what do you do when you bring them back from the shampoo bowl after clarifying? Do you spray anything or do you put anything in their hair?
Oh, the first thing I do, well, what I do just like you said. I put a towel around their neck. I kind of cup the hair into the towel, so as gravity pulls it down. Then what I do is I run back, mix their color real quick, come back, and then I spray down clients. I usually spray them with Protonizer by All Nutrient, and it equalizes the porosity, gives me a little bit of a detangling without it diluting the color or coating the hair or anything like that. Do a quick brush through, not on the scalp, just the end, so I can get through the hair. section it off and do my application. Also, what I've found is for my resistant clients that have that gray that is like the color, this stuff, you know, it looks like it's clear coated. Actually, with doing that, we're actually taking and doing a clarifying. It makes it more absorbent. So like you said, you're going to get more of an even color. It's not going to be translucent. You're going to get that nice deposit because you've softened that cuticle up a little bit. And then, your color surface just goes that much easier. And yeah, the spreadability, you're going to get more bang for your buck. You're going to have to mix 8 ounces up for a single process, and then what I do is usually with all nutrient, after I do the protonizer, when I mix the color up, I put the pure oil in. I put some into the color because as that color gets absorbed into the hair shaft, it's bringing in some of this pure oil, and I can never pronounce how do you pronounce it?
Isn't it like Pecky or something like that?
All right, you guys have to look online because I can't pronounce it, and I'm old and
PEQI, PEQUI, something like that. I don't know, some weird spelling, but yeah, it's a super ingredient.
It's a great ingredient. Pure oil. I put that in my single process. Actually, I use pure oil in my lighteners too.
So the pure oil is essential fatty acid based.
That's exact. Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth.
That's a key thing to talk about because on how many different oils are there? Like how many different? There's like mineral oil, silicone base.
There's argan oil. There's koala nut oil. There's we're using women have been using oils in their hair since back in where you think you originally lived is in Egypt with Cleopatra. Because we know you have a thing for her.
I do.
But
I do.
But oils have been used through time. Women have used hairs as hair dressings, and now that we're with the technology we have, where this stuff is broken, the oils are micronized, where they can actually enter through the cuticle and into the hair shaft to help hydrate the hair. Also help minimize, not completely erase, minimize any damage caused by heat or the coloring process. It's huge. And the pure oil, I go through like 1 or 2 of these a week, No,
it's amazing stuff. Essential fatty acid base helps the elasticity of the hair. It helps the ability for the hair to stretch. And then the protonizer spray that you were mentioning earlier, having liquid keratin protein, it serves as a structurizer, like a reinforcer.
Yep.
Strengthens. So now you've got this beautiful contact base on the hair. Now you can go back and you can start formulating. When you're formulating, what are certain things that you do in your formula to help strengthen your formula? Or is there any kind of additives that you do to your formulas?
If we're talking about color, with color, my first addition is pure oil because I know hand in hand as well. Huh?
Even in the like not just on the hair as a prep, even into the color directly.
No, I put it in the color. So that way when the color is actually entering the hair shaft, it's bringing some of this with it. It's bringing the oil with it, which will then help. It also helps. If we want to get into the chemical end of things, there's the color molecules that have the little hooks on them, right? Mm-hmm. And they attach to the existing pigment, right? Or they attach to each other. So actually this helps strengthen those hooks and that bond that they have, where you're going to actually see a little bit of a longer life of the color too, where it's not going to get it won't hollow out on you. With that being, and then do we want to talk about lighteners now, or we want to wait?
We can. So the only other thing I can mention about hair color is in regards to gray coverage. I know a lot of the stylists at the salon, they love using the extra lightening cream, the Elevare, the Elevare. They love adding that to strengthen their formula as well too, to intensify it.
Right.
You know,
right.
And that just goes back to the old adage of now we're using additives, whereas previously before we would do more color, less developer.
Right.
You know, or we would pre-soften, we would pre-base and pre-soften. You know, you ever take like 20 volumes straight peroxide and just run across the hairline?
Sure. Or the other side of that was pre-pigmenting, where you take color, usually a level or 2 levels lighter than what your target color is, and then mix it with not water. What's the water?
Well, distilled water.
Distilled water. Thank you.
Yeah.
You mix it equal parts with distilled water, apply it, and then go mix your formula. Come back and go right over it. Now, I used to work with some people that would towel blot it off first and then go, but once again, there's all these things that we could do that we used to do that we don't have to do anymore because we have additives. We have things like Elevare, which will take your, which will increase the intensity of the formula.
It'll intensify the strength of the formula without diluting the formula or without offsetting the formula to make it more aggressive. And that's what it's all about, is how do you take your color formula, keep it, I guess, even, or keep it level, keep it in its conditioning strength that it's naturally wants to be in, and not mess with that. But sometimes you need that extra push, or you need that little bit of that extra kick.
Yeah, you need a little.
Myself, I've never needed it. The thing that I do a lot is I'll drop my developer down. Like if I'm having, my favorite thing to describe is, so many times I'll get the phone call and say, like, I need to intensify my formula. Do you have anything stronger? Well, what's going on? The stylist will say something along the lines of, I did the coverage, the formula worked, but I don't know if I should have left it on a couple of minutes longer. I don't know if I should have gone a little bit darker. I don't know if I should use a stronger developer. I think I need something. And it's like, all right, well, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I'm using, I don't know, 8N with 20 volume or something, right? Like some basic formula, 7, 8, with an N, always a freaking N. And it's like, well, first of all, get rid of the N. Second of all, you're using 20 volume because your client's hair is thick, is coarse, it's resistant. What is going on? It's like, no, she's got thin, fine hair. It's like, okay, think about this. Like, all jokes aside about the N series for a minute, even if you're using an N, even if you're doing like 7N or whatever, 6N, 7N, 8N, 20 volume, if a client has thin, fine hair and you apply this and you process it for 30, 40 minutes and it looks like it covered, but just not 100%, and you're questioning why, maybe there is no question. Maybe the color did exactly what it was supposed to do. And on that specific type of hair, we forget 20 volume is still trying to lift 1 to 2 levels. So maybe it overdeveloped your color. Maybe on that particular type of hair, you only need 10 volume. You don't need 20. Maybe you just overdeveloped. And so many times people are like, 10 volume will cover gray. It's like, when did that shift happen in beauty schools or in color manufacturers?
20 volume for everything.
20 volume is the standard for everything to develop the color properly. I get into so many arguments with people, with stylists these days. They're like, oh, the manufacturer says, so you have to use 20. You don't have to do a damn thing. It's like, if we followed all the rules of you had to do it this way, I don't think we'd ever get any color done ever again. I don't think anybody would hit their target color ever again.
Well, and it's and the thing to remember too is if you're going to be a stickler for manufacturer's directions, then you should be processing all your colors for 40, 45 minutes, correct?
But 30 minutes is what I was told. 30 minutes is the magic.
I'll
run behind if I don't process for 30 minutes, John.
By who?
By me.
By who? Where does it? I see, once again, this is a subject for another day, because it's great. Manufacturers, people like to whip that manufacturer's directions. Okay, what's the timing? What does the manufacturer say for timing? And then they're like, then they say the same thing you say. I don't have time for that. I've got, I gotta go look at TikTok. I've got to, go back and sit down. Work-life balance. Ooh. Ooh. But if you really want to pay attention to manufacturers' directions, they give you guidelines. But once again, like we were talking about, is drop it down. Drop down your developer, but also take into account that come the end of the service, what is the condition of your client's hair going to be? You should be able to assess that when you do your initial consultation, right? So with that being said, 20 volume isn't giving you your coverage, right? So then what you want to do is you want to drop down, like you said, but also take into account that sometimes people always go, okay, you guys are dropping down. What about raising it up to 30 volume? That's the point I was trying to make. God, my brain got today. I'm sorry, guys.
On resistant hair, or just when it's not getting the coverage regardless of the hair?
When it's not getting its coverage. Why don't you up the volume? That's what I'm trying to get to.
So upping the volume is a thing. Okay, fine. You can go 25, you can go 30, you can even do 40 volume for great coverage. You could look, if you time it correctly and you apply it correctly, anything can be done. Okay. I can get great coverage with demi color, for the love of God.
That you can, but 40 volume is a different animal, Ed.
No, I've done it. I've done it just out of spite, to prove a point. I've done it. And that's the whole point. I love my 40 volume. The point is, where are we balancing? You're balancing everything's a trade-off.
Right.
Does the condition of the hair matter? Does the damage matter? Does the end result matter? Like, what matters the most? That's what it comes down to.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's where you keep talking about the consultation with the client. As long as you're achieving the result, that's fine. But when we're talking about no more damage, when we're talking about, faster color processing, or just doing faster color services, things like popping them under the dryer and preheating their hair is not, like, yes, that's a thing, but it's not making the hair better. Okay, you're sacrificing, you're trading off.
Right. I see what you're saying. I get it.
Evaluating the texture, porosity, and density of the hair. Texture, porosity, and density of the hair. That's how you're going to be able to decide the right developer, the right level of color, and what additive, what thing you should add to improve the condition of that hair.
Right, because there's so much at your fingertips with that. I agree.
If you've got thin, fine hair, if the client doesn't have a lot of hair, you can even up your formula a level lighter. If you're doing the same formula on this client, okay, let's use the most common, what's the most common thing? 6N, 20 volume? Is that like the most common?
I think it's 6N, 6A, 20 volume.
Okay, the most brain dead formula of all time, right?
Right.
And I still get, it's the most used formula of all time, and I still get phone calls asking for help on how to redo this formula every week, all day. So you do 6N, 6A, 20 volume, you put it on thin, fine hair. The client doesn't have a lot of hair. What happens is that client is going to be getting dark. That's the phone call I get all the time, is the client end result came out a little dark. Okay, then you're depositing too much pigment. It's overdeveloping that color, and it's depositing too much pigment. You could do 7N with the same 20 volume and get the result you're looking for. Or You could drop it down to 10 volume. 10 volume is going to have to process less time than 20. 20 needs 35, 40 minutes processing time. 10 volume only needs about 30-minute processing time. If you want that magic 30 minutes, that's what you have to do. Okay. You do it on medium. Oh, do you want to say anything about the fine hair like that? Since we're talking about that? I don't know if I'm freezing up. You're freezing up.
I thought we went black for like.
Okay. Then yeah, I think you're having a little bit of a connection issue. So yeah, there's a little bit of a lag. There's a little bit of a connection issue. So say again about thin fine. You have any tips about that 6N, 6A, 20 volume on fine thin hair?
My tip with especially with thin fine hair is you've got to keep your standard partings. Application. We can talk about the volume all you want, but thin hair does not mean you take big gobs and just paint each side and mush it in. Sure. It's a product. You have to get saturation. That's the word I was looking for. You have to get saturation with that. That is a big, most of the time it is not a chemical failure. It is a process. It is a application failure that I've found. Application. But we're going sideways here. We're talking about additives to help the condition of the hair, right? If you want to get into Eddie and I have a color class and we go on HTVBeauty.com. We get deep into the application, volumes of peroxide, things like that. I think you would get more out of it in person, and you can ask questions and things like that, because we've been misled so much by, manufacturer's directions, or this person trained me and they told me this, right? With what all nutrient, especially pure oil, is going to help you. Your protonizer is going to help you, and the Elevare, which has become an invaluable tool in my world, especially for that aggressive gray. That aggressive gray that no matter what you do, it just looks. It looks great for like 2 or 3 days, and then you get the phone call. My roots are a little bit lighter, It'll help get that penetration, because really, what are we doing when we're doing a single gray coverage, single process gray coverage? We're opening the cuticle of the hair, correct? And we're depositing pigment in there. And then what do we got to do to make sure that pigment stays in there? We've got to close that cuticle back down, right? We've just taken that hair, for all intents and purposes. If we're using permanent color, it's an alkaline. Most of them are alkaline, right? And we put that pigment in the hair, but then that cuticle stays a little raised because you caused it to swell.
Yeah, sure.
How do we ensure that we close that cuticle back down, Eddie?
Let it air dry.
You're killing me today.
All right, you know what? We need to
started last night. I hate you.
we need to have a bitch fest episode. That should be next week. Something like a bitch fest episode.
We can do that.
Then you need to use targeted heat, or you need to use some kind of conditioning. You need to use some kind of for shock, like cold water rinse. You need to do something that
white vinegar
to close back down again. So right. All right.
So we need to use something. You gotta close that cuticle down to keep that color in, right? And besides the fact that after we do what we do, now I'm a big fan. I don't have the protein complex or microfusion. This stuff, Eddie ate this once. Microfusion it's a hair renewing treatment. I call it, I tell my clients it's Botox for your hair. It closes that cuticle down, and it leaves the hair feeling like it did when you were 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But there's all kinds of things that you can do. And then also you can bring back in your hair protenizer if you're using all nutrient. If you like all nutrient products, you can bring back your hair protenizer too. Also, and then what I always tell my clients is yeah, you want to leave wet, you want to air dry, but here, sit down. Let me, because I learned this from you, let me at least do a rough blow dry on you to use heat, and let's get this sealed in for you. And it's amazing that when you see them come back 3 to 4 weeks later, that the color is still there. It's not a hollowed out or it just off tone or anything like that. It holds. And that's the biggest thing is especially because we're so buffered these days, is that we do need these things, and your clients do need these things like microfusion, like protenizer, like the oil additives to the color. There's so much that we can do. And then here's the novel concept, guys, and I'm gonna get some hate. We can charge for it and build your ticket. Ooh, ooh. What? But I charge my client $5 more. She's gonna leave me. Really? If you're giving them something they need, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Nothing to say?
Nope, I'm not touching that one. I'm saving all of this. Yeah. Okay, that's what we should do next week.
Okay, but here's what. But this is part of the conversation. If you're putting additives, if you let your client know ahead of time, hey, I've got this oil. It's X amount of dollars, whatever you've discerned that cost per application. It's going to leave your hair feeling so much better. It's going to help your color. And you're upfront with it, and you say it's going to be X amount of dollars more, but it's going to give you an optimum service. What's the worst thing your client's going to say to you?
Nah, it'll be fine. I don't want that. It's going to make my hair flat.
Okay.
I like the damage. That's volume.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, but I always clarify with them. I'm like, all right, I just let you know about this, right? And they're like, yeah, okay. And then when they come back and they're like, what did I tell you? For an extra $3 or whatever it is, we could have avoided this, but your hair's flat. Am I wrong? Am I wrong with any of this or no?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll shut up now. You talk. I'm not saying anything.
I'm telling you, grievance episode. We need a grievance episode. All right, look, lighteners. You wanted to talk about the lighteners as well too, and all the additives for lighteners, because that in the past couple of years in particular has exploded. The lightening scene and bleaches. I mean, clay has been popular in this past 5-6 years. Charcoal has gotten popular again in the past 5-6 years. White and blue is dominating everything. It's wild how much white and blue base, now we've got blue base developers.
Well,
that's becoming a thing now, right?
Dude, I can't live without my blue base developers. You made me an addict. You turned me into an addict. Wild. I made fun, guys. I made fun of this a couple years ago when they came out with blue base developers. I'm like, what a difference. Okay. I was wrong. I can admit I was wrong. And as far as lightening goes, there's additives to your lighteners, especially for those that balayage. But also for your double process clients too, like we were talking about earlier. No longer does it look like they have like dandruff by the time they're at the end of their service with the lightener drying out and everything. Because a lot of these additives like LC, my fave, I love lightener control. It's got a bond builder in it. It also has emollients in it that keeps your lightener moist. You and I do this when we do the lightning class. We will mix a bowl of lightener up with this at the beginning of class. Mix it up, and usually about halfway point in the class, we'll bring it back out and show them where your lightener doesn't brain out. It doesn't look like a brain. And all you do is just mix it a couple times and it re-emulsifies. It keeps it nice and moist. For those of you that that balayage do a lot of freehand work, it stays right where you put it. But also, I like lightener control for foiling too, because it gives you that nice. It gives you that nice creamy consistency, and your foils stay where you put them. You don't get a lot of sliding or anything like that. Also, what I do is, besides lightener control, is I do throw a little bit of the pure oil into the lightener too, because I don't like wallpaper paste for my lightener. I want to make sure that I get saturation. I've worked with people that it looks like wallpaper paste, the lightener they use, and then they wonder why they get holidays, because they haven't fully saturated the hair, so the underside gets you'll get a spot or two. Or I've worked with people that put the lightener on the foil, put the weave over it, and then they paint over it, and then they wonder why it's oozing out the end.
They've overloaded the foil too much.
Yeah, but once again, with something like lightener control and the oil, you're not going to get that expansion because it keeps it in that constant state where you're not going to get that expansion of the product. It's huge. Additives to lighteners, I love them, and everybody has additives for their lighteners. We're talking about all nutrient, but there is a ton of them out there, and I'm going to touch on it again, where I'm going to watch the face Eddie makes. Charge for it.
Yeah, that's fine.
When
it comes to lightning, I'm all about it. I pick and choose.
And I, like I said, I just got 4 new tires put on my car. Okay. And they quoted me a price for the tires, and I said, okay, cool, go for it. And then when they came back, the price was completely different, because they had to balance the tires. They had to do this, do that. And then I had to have a what do you call it? Alignment and all that, because of the new tires, and I didn't flip. I was like, okay, this is what I need for my car. This is what they need for their hair. So I have no problem with charging for it. And don't rape them. I'm not talking about raping people. I'm talking about charge what the service is worth. Am I making my? It's just so crazy to me where people just throw things in for people. Where it's oh yeah, I just did a full foil on you, 2.5 bowls of lightener and additives and stuff, and $100. Come on.
Well, some of us, our love language is service. And we like our clients, unlike you.
Wait,
no. Let me complete my insult. Let me really piss you off. I don't do hair for transactional. I do hair, because I'm a nice person. So that's what you get. Stay on top and save all of this for your grievances. We'll do grievances.
There is so much to unpack from that statement that
you're welcome. Look,
that's another episode. That is another episode just for that statement alone coming from you.
So, lightener, I know that's why you're gonna let me have it after this. Lightener does what? Why does LC work? Why do bond builders work? Why do all these additives like the oils? Why does mixing ratios for lighteners matter so much? Okay. At its core, a lot of manufacturers say to mix equal parts, 1 part powder, 1 part developer. And that makes the consistency of the product, of the final product, kind of thick. A lot of stylists don't prefer that. So they'll end up putting a little extra developer. They'll do 1.5, or they'll put twice the amount of developer to powder. Okay. Then that thins out the consistency, the viscosity of the product, of the highlighting. What ends up, the problem with that is if your powder is completely dissolved into the developer, then you're only relying on your peroxide to give you all of your lift. Peroxide by itself will give you some lift, yes, but is it going to help to break down and decolorize all of that color? If it's natural color, natural melanin in the hair, if there's natural pigment that you're lifting through, then yeah, your developer will give you some movement, it'll give you some lift. But if there's pre-existing color that you're trying to highlight over, developer by itself, peroxide by itself is not going to give you enough movement. That's where you need the powder. That's where the lightener or the bleach, the powder, comes into play. All right. If you prefer your consistency a little bit thinner, this is why additives have become the market. I was told by a stylist, like, oh, I don't believe in additives. I think it's just marketing BS. I think it's just an excuse for companies to sell you more stuff. And it's like, no, it's not a BS. It's not for companies to sell you more stuff. There is obviously an active need, because then I start talking to her and I'm like, all right, how do you mix? What is your ratios? She's like, oh, 2, 2.5, sometimes even 3, depending on what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, well then you're doing your own BS. You're using developer in place of additives. So you're unintentionally doing it without realizing you're doing it. That's what it comes down to. Okay.
And then you've got the people that the last class that I did, where I had a girl arguing with me about that you need heat with bleach or with lightener. And I went, and I asked her the same question. I said, what are your mixing ratios? And she's like, well, I don't even weigh it out. I just do it by the way it looks.
Oh, you eyeball it? Yeah.
Okay. And I went, okay. And she goes, and I like it nice and loose, like hair color. And I said the same thing. I said, it was, you're using your developer to lift. And that's why you need the heat source, because you've got to boost whatever you got to use that heat. But really think about what's that heat, that developer, and that addition of whatever lighteners in there is doing to that hair. And, most manufacturers, since we're talking about manufacturers' directions, they don't want you to put heat with lightener, right?
With steamer, lightener, no, there's very few bleach. Does basic white even still require heat anymore? They've gone away from that?
I don't think so. I think that was just that, like the Kaleidocolor stuff that they had. Remember that? It was like Sunglitz. Yeah, I think that was processed, but even then, I think that was just processed with either a processing machine or a steamer. Now, I'm a big proponent of the steamer. I wish I had room here for a steamer. I love me a steamer, because that'll get you nice, even results. But once again, if you're mixing correctly, you shouldn't have to use external heat, right?
The whole argument with heat is really what it comes down to is it's trying to, how do I say this the right way? When a lot of stylists want to use heat, it's because they're trying to use it as an additive, as a form of an additive.
An accelerator.
And an accelerator to overcompensate so many times. Okay, so here's a scenario. Here's a hypothetical. Well, it's not even a hypothetical. It's an actual scenario. So many times I'll have a conversation with the stylist. They'll tell me they're trying to get this much lift on this type of hair. And I'm like, okay, well then sounds like 30 volume, 40 volume. Oh no, I never use anything over anything more than 20 volume is unnecessary. Well, okay. Well, then I put them under the dryer. And now the whole argument about lamps and dryer and moisturizers and all the different heat sources, tapping the foil with flat iron, at 400 degrees, like all these crazy ass different concepts come out. And it's like, why are you telling me it is absolutely under no circumstance ever do you ever need to use anything more than 20 volume with powder I just keep saying powder because I don't want to keep saying bleach and lighteners,
Okay.
But you never ever have to use, there's no scenario or circumstance where you ever should use over 20 volume. I've heard this argument told to me over and over and over. And then in the next breath, they're like, oh, yeah, I need heat. I need heat. I don't have enough heat. Do you have anything hotter? It's like, what are we doing here? Because what is the actual argument for better color? Is it is it the damage that's caused by the developer, or is it the timing that's causing the damage? Or is it a combination of both? Which one is it? Because to me, if everything is equal, all the same, if you take 20 volume and leave it on for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and you take 40 volume and you only leave it on for 20 minutes, I don't know, maybe 30, depending on the type of the hair, it's the equal amount of damage. And it's the same amount of lift. For the most part, it's all things the same. It's all equal. So then what are we really talking about? What's the difference? It confuses the hell out of me when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, what it is,
the argument confuses me.
The argument, I get what you're saying with the argument, and I agree with you. But also, people, I mean, you mentioned 40 volume to most stylists, and their eyes start pinwheeling. Because it's also a timing thing too, because your arc of alkalinity with 20 volume is an arc. With 40 volume, it's like fucking. It's it's high speed up, high speed down, right? So it's the same thing. With that being said, and comfort level, and 40 volume has been vilified for so long.
Yeah, I don't
so long. Well, me neither. But that's the era that we come from, where a lot of the younger stylists now, it's all about the care of the hair and all of that, where we would use 40 volume to get where we wanted to be, and then if there's any reconstructing or any restructurizing that needed to be done to the hair, we did it post. Back in the day, that's what you did.
Oh,
right? Like
we overcompensate. I mean, yeah, we abused the hell out of it, and then we balanced it out afterwards. I mean, it just.
Are you kidding? I would go through a 2-gallon tub of cholesterol a week with my clients. And especially because it had I never pronounce this right. The jojoba base to it. The cholesterol, the jojoba, so it would soothe their scalp after their double process. But it's amazing how technology has really advanced for us, and there's so many things at our fingertips that we can actually improve the quality of the hair. And that's what blows my mind, and really that's the crux of everything Eddie and I are talking about today, other than me dropping an F-bomb. But we're very fortunate in our industry that it keeps progressing and things keep getting new. It's awesome. 35 years in, and I still learn I learn something new almost every day about something in the hair world. And I think it's super cool. And you find what works for you, and you find what works for your clients, because there's not one cure-all for each client, for all your clients. Each client has individual needs, and we can make that happen for them. How cool is that? I mean, that's dope. If you're interested in All Nutrient and any of the products that we were talking about today, you can go to htbbeauty.com, click on the All Nutrient, and everything they have is right there. And you won't be sad if you start trying some of those products. To be honest with you, 23 years ago, you came in and threw All Nutrient products at me. And I, it sat on a shelf for about a month, and then blew my mind. And then I got sucked into this vortex that is HTB. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you like what we do, and you like what we do every week, please, really to support us, besides clicking whatever you're supposed to click, go to htbbeauty.com, check it out. We have classes. We have a bunch of classes coming up. We've got some new products online. And we invite each and every one of you guys to make a difference one client at a time. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Check it out. Also, Head Spa, March 2nd. We're going to be in Downers Grove. So that'll be a fun time too. So yeah, like you said, man, that's right. Go out there and make a difference one client at a time.
Thanks, guys.
The SFTB podcast was not recorded in front of a live studio audience, so thanks for joining us for today's episode. If our hair topics made you smile, give us a thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll read them while waiting for our caller to process. Share this video with your stylists and friends. It helps us make a difference, one strand at a time. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Because your hair deserves all the latest and greatest tips.